Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents I Do or Die Trying by Aimee Nicole Walker, narrated by Joel Leslie. 1. Gabriel Wyatt. Josh and I had the most amazing week in the Bahamas to celebrate his birthday and our future. We spent our time swimming, sunbathing, eating, and making love. I soaked in every second we had alone because we both knew things would get crazy once we returned home. Broadman's pre-trial hearings were scheduled to start. We also had a wedding to plan and a mini mansion to buy. The changes to our lives were huge and overwhelming, but so fucking amazing. I couldn't wait to start our new life together and raise a family. In fact, we treated Josh's birthday vacation like it might be the last time we got to go away alone as a couple for a very long time. I thought trips to Disney might be in our future instead of a romantic getaway for two. Some couples were lucky enough to do both, and I thought it should be our goal also. "That was the most amazing week I've ever had," Josh said as we pulled down our street. "Thank you for so many wonderful birthday surprises." He was talking about the little gifts I gave him daily to celebrate him taking another trip around the sun. Those were nothing compared to the surprise I had for him at home. I knew the moment he saw his special gift. "Oh my God!" He squealed and danced in his seat as I pulled in the driveway. The car hadn't even come to a complete stop before he jumped out and ran to his princess. "Racing stripes! You bought me racing stripes!" There was more dancing, followed by a kiss fit for a hero. I seriously debated painting some temporary racing stripes down the front of my body to see what kind of reaction I would get from him. "You shouldn't have spent so much money, but damn, I'm so in love with them." He ran his finger lightly over one of the silver stripes. "I've seen the way you lust after Emery's stripes. Or at least I hope it was just the damn stripes," I grumbled. "Shut up," Josh said, slapping me playfully on the arm. "Oh, speaking of Emery, here he comes. I bet he wants to talk about my new stripes." I could tell by the expression on Emery's face when he neared us that he wasn't there to admire the stripes. In fact, I was positive that I didn't want to hear whatever Emery had to say. "I've had a vision," he said somberly. "I know why I'm here in Blissville." I automatically reached for Josh and pulled him close. I didn't have to be a psychic to know that it was bad news. "Why are you here, Emery?" I asked him. "Someone's looking for you, Gabe. A man." He replied so solemnly that it was almost funny. "Should I be worried?" Josh quipped, never one to miss an opportunity to snark. I looked down into his hazel eyes and was surprised I saw concern there instead of the humor I expected. I remembered how unsettled Josh was about Emery's appearance in our lives, and how hard he worked to convince himself that everything was going to be okay. "Honestly," Emery said, then paused for effect. "Yes." "Whoa," Josh said softly. Every ounce of happiness he'd felt moments before was gone. I knew I needed to act fast to get it back. "Emery, do you know anything more specific than a man is looking for me? I mean, that could be anything. What makes you think we should be worried?" I asked our friend. "It's hard to explain," he said, but he could tell by the expression on my face that he was going to need to try. There was an aura of danger in my vision. "A feeling?" I asked. I needed something more concrete than a feeling. I was a cop and worked on facts, not premonitions. "More than that," Emery said in frustration. I could tell he was struggling to find a way to explain things to me. "Sometimes my visions have colors around the edges, and sometimes colors surround the person in the vision. I saw a red aura, which can be several things. Among them is anger, resentment, and even danger. This man, or whatever he represents, could be dangerous to you. Did you get a good look at his face? Josh asked. Believe it or not, we have a sketch artist on the task force. I remember, Aimee said. Your work with the artist brought a killer to your door. The same man whose negative energy I sensed in my house when I first moved in. Well, did you see his face? Josh asked, urging Aimee to answer his question. I was curious to hear the answer myself. It wasn't a clear vision of the man. It seldom works that way. Hell, if it did, I could prevent. His words broke off as a look of complete devastation washed over him. I wondered if he was talking about his husband's death, but hadn't I read that his abilities started after River died? I also noticed he spoke in the future tense, not past, like he wanted to prevent something that hadn't happened yet but knew he couldn't. Never mind, he said, shaking his head. What I see are fragmented pieces of evidence like snapshots, and sometimes they're nothing more than vague impressions. In your case, he nodded to me. I saw an outline of a tall man appearing before you, and his aura was so dark black that... I thought you said it was red, Josh said, cutting him off. Gabe's aura was red, Aimee clarified patiently. The stranger's aura was black, which usually indicates the inability to forgive, repressed anger, and bitterness. Aimee, why don't we go upstairs and talk about this? I suggested. You can tell me exactly what you saw. Yeah, okay, he said, but his tone indicated he'd rather not. I guess the least I can do is grab a suitcase. You're reading my mind again, Josh told him, trying to inject some humor into the situation. Once upstairs in our apartment above the salon, Aimee sat sipping a can of Coke that Josh handed him while we greeted our fur and feather babies. Adrian had sent a text when we were on our way home that said he'd drop Buddy off so that he could be waiting for us when we arrived. He couldn't decide if he was happy to see us or pissed because we left him in the first place. Someone abandoned him once, and I always felt worried he felt left behind when Josh and I left him for an extended time. You're such a good boy, I assured him as I rubbed his belly. Best boy in the world. Bite me, asshole! Bite me! Savage squawked as he flapped his wings angrily and rocked his little swing back and forth. Asshole! Somebody's jealous, Josh said, nodding his head toward the bird. Let me take over here while you calm the bird down. I rose to my feet and walked over to the cage while Diva wove in and out of my legs. Did you miss me, Savage? I missed you. Savage settled down as soon as I opened his cage. Have you been a good boy, dirty bird? I stroked my finger over his soft blue feathers. Big Daddy's home! Little Daddy's home! Finally! I'd been trying to teach him to call Josh that for weeks. Little Daddy? Josh asked. I turned to face Josh, who had Jazzy sitting on his shoulders while he rubbed Buddy's belly. I don't know where he learns these things, Sunshine. I honestly don't. I turned back to face our bird, who bopped his head like he was jamming to music that only he could hear, which made me wonder if I could teach him to dance to music to entertain our guests. Daddies are home, dirty bird. Dirty bird! Savage repeated. Aimee's chuckle reminded me that a more serious discussion needed to take place. I stroked over Savage one last time before I closed his cage, then braced myself to hear whatever Aimee had to say. He looked nervous, where before he looked afraid. Was he worried that I wouldn't believe him? While I couldn't say that I was hanging on to his every word, I wasn't going to ignore him either. Okay, I said, taking a seat on the sofa. Tell me exactly what you saw. It was just a snippet in time. You were standing on a porch, talking to a man. That was it? That's not all, Aimee said, giving me a knowing look. I blinked because Josh had jokingly called him a mind reader on more than one occasion. It was the scowl on your face, detective, not me peering into your brain. It's still creepy, I told him. Right? Josh asked from where he sat on the floor. I feel ridiculous for practically running across the yard with an ominous threat with virtually no information to back it up. I know just how much you law enforcement officers want hard, concrete evidence. Jury's kind of demanded, Aimee, I told him dryly. Tell me what you saw. I feel ridiculous now that I'm about to say it out loud. He released a long breath and said, I saw a quick snippet of you talking to a man on a porch. Our front porch or back porch? Josh asked. Front door visitors imply the person doesn't know us well, or maybe not at all. Friends and family would come to our back door. Neither, Aimee replied. It wasn't at this house. What did the house look like in your vision? Josh asked. Who was the detective here? Aimee closed his eyes like he was trying to remember every detail. It was a big, wide porch with large white pillars and dark wicker furniture with gray and blue striped cushions. He opened his eyes and said, It seems familiar to me, but I don't know why. A shiver of fear snaked its way down my spine. Like this? Josh asked. He scooted over to Aimee and showed him a picture on his phone. I knew without asking which house he was showing him. It was the one we were going to buy so we could start the next phase of our lives. We discussed it the day I asked Josh to marry me right before we went on his birthday trip. The house was exactly how Aimee described it, minus the dark wicker furniture with striped cushions. But damn if that didn't sound like something Josh would buy to put on that big porch. Yes, just like that, Aimee exclaimed. Whose house is that? It's our forever home, Josh said confidently. We just need to buy it. You don't know why the guy was there, or what was said, and you can't tell me what he looked like. Is that right? I asked. I wanted to give credence to his words, but it was hard to do with such vague details. Aimee blushed a little, and I felt guilty for making him feel bad. He was taller than you by several inches, and he wasn't as muscular as you, he said. I know this sounds ridiculous, but my visions or impressions have never been wrong. There will be a man who will come to your front door, and he will bring anger and resentment with him. He's dangerous. Thank you, Aimee, I said, unsure what else to say. I appreciate you looking out for me. I won't stay any longer, he said, rising to his feet. I know you probably have a lot to do now that you're back from vacation. There was only one thing on my mind, and I'd pounce on it the minute he left. Are you coming to dinner tomorrow? Josh asked him when he reached the top of the staircase. You mean I'm still invited? He asked softly. Of course, Josh replied. Don't be ridiculous. Aimee looked at me as if he felt he needed my invitation as well. Don't be ridiculous, I said, mirroring Josh's words. I had a minimum of 50 pounds of muscle on Josh, but I knew damn well who was in charge. Besides, Aimee wasn't trying to hurt either of us. He thought he was helping. I'll be here, Aimee said, but again I noticed that he hesitated. He won't be here, Josh answered. I wasn't sure who Josh meant. See, Aimee, it's creepy when someone reads your mind. Aimee chuckled and headed down the stairs. I followed behind him to lock the back door. See you tomorrow, I told him. My words were met with a wave as he headed down the porch steps. When I returned upstairs, Josh was in our bedroom watching Aimee through the window. I'm worried about him, Josh said. Aimee? I asked. I didn't want to sound like a big baby, but wasn't I the one who received the dire warning? He'd been freaking out since Aimee moved next door, but he was calm as a cucumber when he turned and walked to me. You being in danger wasn't what brought him here, Gabe. Jonathan Silver is the reason he's here. I'm not saying we ignore what he said, Josh added when my mouth dropped open in shock. But I told you I'm not living in fear. I meant it. Good. That means we march forward with our plans to buy George's mansion. I'm calling her lawyer tomorrow to tell him that we're buying the place. I pulled him tight against my chest and lowered my head until my lips hovered above his. That's not all we need to plan, I reminded him. I can't wait for you to become mine. I'm already yours, Josh whispered back. I want it official before you change your mind, I told him, earning myself a snort in reply. I don't want big and fancy like the weddings featured on your segments on Channel 11. I want it intimate and real, with our closest friends and our families. Josh's hazel eyes softened at my words. You know where would be a great place to get married in September? Our new backyard, I said before he could answer. We could set up an arbor and chairs in that big backyard where we'll have barbecues and our kids will play on their swing sets someday. Panic began to replace the warm, mushy feelings as I threw out a specific time frame. This September? He asked. As in 3 months? Yeah, that's plenty of time. He opened his mouth to argue, but I silenced him with a quick kiss. I'm going to marry you on September 16th, Josh Roman. Instead of arguing with me about it, how about we just make it happen? Okay, he said softly. I will marry you on the 16th of September. But why that specific day? It happens to be my parents' wedding anniversary, I told Josh. The 16th it is, then. I wanted to seal his promise with a kiss, but he jerked back and wagged his finger in front of my face. Oh, no, you don't. If I'm going to marry you in 3 months, then I need to start organizing right this minute. It can't wait 10 minutes? I asked whiningly. When have you ever fucked me in 10 minutes? Josh replied. Let me outline a plan, and then I'll rock your world. How about I rock your world now, and then you can outline a plan while I fix us something to eat for dinner? Josh tipped his head to the side, as if he was giving it some serious consideration. I unbuttoned the jeans he had purchased and snuck into my drawer. They weren't the fit I preferred, but I had to admit I looked damn good in the tighter jeans, and Josh went wild when I wore them. Lust replaced the determination that had been in his eyes as he watched me stroke my erection. Okay, maybe I'll squeeze you in, he said as if he was doing me a favor. You've never had a problem squeezing me in before, I said, walking him toward the bed. Never cheesy, Josh said, repeating one of our house rules, but his lips twitched from wanting to laugh. Once we were naked, he handed me a condom that reminded me of another promise we made to one another during vacation. Last night with condoms. We decided to get tested and give up condoms if the results came back as we expected. There were several condoms left on the strip. It seemed like such a shame to waste them, so I didn't give Josh the chance to start on our wedding plans that night. 2. Josh Roman. I was wide awake at the ass crack of dawn, my head spinning with so many thoughts I feared it would explode. I eased out from under Gabe's heavy arm and tiptoed into the bathroom to start my day. I don't know why I bothered being quiet, because there was no way Gabe could hear me over the sound of his snoring. I was fairly certain that I'd want to hold a pillow over his head to buffer it someday, but we were still in our everything-is-cute phase. Buddy followed behind me with a wagging tail and a hopeful gleam in his eye that we were going for a run. Yes, Buddy, I told him, as if he understood me. But can a guy get a bit of privacy here? I gestured to my cock with a hand that wasn't holding it steady over the toilet bowl. It didn't take me long to scrub my teeth, then throw on a pair of running shorts and a tank top. Gabe didn't even twitch when I dropped a kiss on his cheek before I left. I locked the back door, then set out to clear my head, or at least organize and prioritize my thoughts, with a hard run. A guy couldn't think about everything all at once, for fuck's sake. Food and fucking were usually the top thoughts on any man's list, but I neglected both of those that morning. The biggest thing on my mind should have been planning my future with Gabe. But if Emery was correct, the life I wanted with him could be in jeopardy. It was a completely helpless feeling, and I had to find a way to come to terms with it or risk letting fear ruin every good thing in my life. I meant what I had said to Gabe. I was through with fear running the show. So I decided I would examine what Emery said, look for any hints of what was left unspoken, process it, then tuck it away until I had solid evidence that I should be worried. What other choice did I have? Emery hadn't said much, and it didn't seem like he was leaving anything out, so I was tucking it away like a spent dick before I even made it out of my neighborhood. I looked down at my faithful furry friend and noticed how the sunlight caught the diamonds in the ring Gabe had slid on my finger. It was such a beautiful band, and remembering the look in Gabe's eyes when he asked me to marry him never failed to get my heart pumping. Damn, I am one lucky man. Wearing the ring while on vacation made it feel like we were on our honeymoon, which made me ponder if I wanted to wear the ring during our engagement or wait until after we were married. I was surprised how much I wanted to wait, even though the thought of taking it off made my stomach hurt. Gabe wasn't going to like the idea, but I thought it was one of the times that I had to stand my ground about what felt right to me. The thoughts of our engagement led to the biggest source of my hysteria. The wedding. Yes, I know how shallow that seemed considering Emery's prediction, but the wedding was something tangible I could grasp onto, where Emery's words were just words, and vague ones at that. Gabe demanded a wedding in 3 months, and hell if I didn't want to make it happen. I easily pictured an outdoor wedding in early September because fall was my favorite season. I would have loved an October wedding with the changing leaves in the background, but the weather that month in southern Ohio was too unpredictable for an outdoor wedding. It could be sunny and 70 degrees, rainy and 50 degrees, or it could even snow. It was also possible to experience all of them before noon. September was the ultimate month for an outdoor wedding, and ours would be spectacular. I pictured a beautiful arbor with flowers and greenery woven in and out of the white arches. I saw my gorgeous man standing in a sexy charcoal suit with an aqua striped tie and matching pocket square. Behind him stood Adrian, dressed in a similar suit in a lighter shade of gray. He was beaming with happiness as he watched us exchange vows. I didn't have eyes in the back of my head, but I knew who would stand with me on my big day. There was no way I'd say I do without Chaz and Meredith beside me. Renting suits, chairs, and an arbor shouldn't be that hard to do. The hardest part would be finding a caterer with only a few months' notice. Luckily for Gabe, I had met an amazing caterer through the wedding series I filmed for Channel 11. Cliff had told me he'd be happy to cater our big event when Gabe proposed on set, but I was sure he expected more than 12 weeks to organize it. My nerves calmed considerably when I realized that I knew all the right people to make our big day go smoothly. I didn't need a big binder with a detailed plan after all. I just needed to sit down with Gabe and find out exactly what we wanted on our special day before I called my new friends and begged for their assistance. I felt much lighter after my realization. I decided I could go home for my 2 favorite Fs when I heard someone calling my name behind me. I stopped and let Emery catch up to me. "Are we okay?" he asked me. "We're fine, Emery," I assured him, and meant it. What Emery did the night before was done out of concern for his new friends. It was hard to be upset with him when he was only looking out for Gabe. "We expect to see you at dinner tonight. Gabe is grilling chicken and plans to wow us with his grandmother's barbecue sauce recipe. Telling him that death is coming for him is okay, but missing out on his special sauce isn't cool." Emery paled, and I immediately regretted my brashness. "Not that kind of special sauce. Only I get that," I said teasingly, trying to undo the damage I caused. "Filter, dumbass. Use a filter." Emery chuckled a little, but I could tell he was doing it more for my benefit than his. I have a feeling that I don't want to miss it, he replied. I see what you did there. I liked his little play on words. Emily was guarded when he moved next door, and my nearly hostile attitude hadn't helped, so it was nice to see a bit of personality shine through. I'd witnessed his gut-wrenching pain the day I went to his house after he missed his hair appointment at my salon. I held him in my arms while he sobbed over the loss of his husband that occurred years before, and the sorrow he felt after seeing a vision of himself with another man. I firmly believed what I told Gabe after Emery's revelation. Emery wasn't in Blissville to save Gabe. He was there to be saved by Jonathan Silver. Can I please bring something? Wine? Side dish? I'm not helpless in the kitchen. I can't match your skills, but few people can. I liked Emery even more. No wine sales on Sunday here, but you can feel free to bring whatever you like. I'm going to make potato salad, baked beans, and corn on the cob. How about a dessert? I asked him. How does strawberry shortcake sound to you? I'm talking homemade, not that spongy, Twinkie-like substance people pass off as shortcake. You're my kind of people, Emery. That sounds delicious. We set off together on a jog once the decision was made. Emery was a tad taller than me, but our strides were equally paced, and it was a pleasant experience. Gabe preferred to lift weights over cardio, and Chaz preferred to spin over running. Neither of us had anything to say, so we ran in easy silence, rather than fill it with nonsense. That's how you knew you were comfortable in someone's presence. We parted at our driveways with a small wave. Buddy and I eagerly ran up the steps once we got a whiff of bacon after I unlocked the back door. Sure enough, Gabe was standing at the stove making breakfast. Did you have a good run? Gabe asked without turning away from his task, which was good because he was cooking in his underwear. Sounds hot, right? In fantasies, it sure as hell was, but in reality, it made me shiver. But not in a good way. Bacon grease is very hot, and not what you want to be splattered on your bare chest or cock and balls. His designer briefs were thin and offered no real protection from sizzling, popping grease, but they offered me one hell of a view. Oh yeah, my eyes locked on those firm round ass cheeks, and I imagined myself grabbing onto them while he pounded away inside of me, or even spread apart to receive my cock. Josh, you're making my dick hard by staring at my ass. I snapped out of my daydream long enough to respond. Your dick is always hard. My gaze wandered up the broad expanse of his back to take in the wide shoulders where I often rested my calves while he... Josh! I can't help myself, and don't pretend like you didn't wear that to get this exact reaction from me, I said, marching over to the coffee pot to pour myself a cup. Hey, can I have one of those ninja coffee bar things Sophia raves about in our new house? Who's Sophia? Gabe asked. Just because he was gay didn't excuse him from not knowing the world's most beautiful woman. Gabe, I just don't know what to do with you sometimes. I shook my head sadly for emphasis, which he didn't see because he was still paying close attention to the bacon. And who could blame him with his magic wand and being so close to the fiery pits of hell? Sophia Vergara, Gabe. She's an actress and is married to Joe Man. Oh, her. I didn't like his tone. Not one bit. It was the same one I'd heard rolling off the lips of every jealous woman in my salon as they cattily tore her down when she and Joe started dating. I thought they were a beautiful couple, and I was happy for them. Only people who wanted Joe for themselves sounded bitter. Aw, did she steal your man from you? I asked mockingly. Is he your celebrity crush? 6 months ago, the thought of Gabe crushing on a big, muscular guy would have sent me into a panic. Not anymore, because I was certain of two things. There was nothing wrong with the way I was, and Gabe was crazy in love with me. Was, Gabe confessed sheepishly. Aw, you dumped him because of me? I cooed as I moved closer to him, but not so close that the grease was going to get me. He was cooking his meat on
Sample complete. Ready to continue?